one American city, your odds of becoming a crime victim aren't 1 in 10, or even 1 in 6. They're closer to 1 in 5. That's not a statistic. That's a survival rate. Everyone's heard of Chicago, Detroit, LA, but some of the most dangerous cities in the US are nowhere near the ones you think. These are the places where streetlights flicker, sirens double as background noise, and Zillow listings read like dares. So before you plan that next road trip, grab a seat and maybe lock your doors. We're going state by state, uncovering the places that make even seasoned locals think twice about stopping for gas after dark. Let's dive in. Cairo, Illinois may be small enough to miss on the map, but the risk of becoming a victim? That's anything but tiny. Nestled at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, Cairo once held grandeur as a port town, its steamboats churning and factories humming. But now the streets echo with emptiness, the storefronts shuttered, the population a fraction of its former self. The decline didn't come overnight. Decades of economic collapse, racial unrest, flooding, and chronic disinvestment have left the place more than just struggling. It's haunted by its own history. When you dig into the numbers, the ghost town aesthetic turns sinister. Data firm Crime Grade gives Cairo an F grade for violent crime per capita, placing it in roughly the 5th percentile for safety, meaning it's less safe than about 95% of cities. In one typical year, the violent crime rate hovers around 8.9 to 89 per 1,000 residents. Even if the population is small, the rate relative to that population is staggering. Add to that property crime, more than 30 incidents per 1,000 people happening in some neighborhoods. And it's clear the menace isn't just theoretical. What makes Cairo chilling isn't just the statistics, it's the environment those numbers describe. Picture blocks of abandoned buildings, a downtown once busy, now silent, with weeds rising through cracked pavement. Locals say some neighborhoods wait for a match, not metaphorically. And with fewer people, fewer jobs, a shrinking tax base, municipal services strained or gone, it's a cocktail that feeds disorder. And as the infrastructure fades, so does the margin for error. Now when you ask, should I visit? The answer has to be cautious. If you're drawn to history, rivertown decay, or photography of derelict Americana, you might find Cairo fascinating. But if you're expecting a normal small town with friendly clocks and safe errands, you'll be walking into an environment where the odds of being involved in something unwanted are far higher than you'd hope. In the shadow of those twin rivers, Cairo stands as a stark reminder. Danger isn't always in the big city lights. Sometimes it's in the quiet places where everything else left first. Gallup, New Mexico. Gallup feels like the wide-open West until the crime rate reminds you it's got a much tighter danger loop. At first glance, Gallup looks like the kind of town you stop in for gas, turquoise jewelry, and a photo with a Route 66 sign. Sun-bleached motels, desert murals, and wide skies. It sells nostalgia by the square mile. But that old-school charm fades fast when you look past the souvenir shops. Gallup's violent crime rate hovers several times higher than the national average. This is the type of place where even the wind feels restless, and a welcome sign might as well read, "Lock your car twice." It's not that Gallup is evil, it's that it's exhausted. Poverty sits deep here. Unemployment bites, and alcohol-related crime is the shadow that won't leave. Locals joke that nothing happens here, but that's only true until nightfall. After dark, the empty desert hums differently. Sirens echo off the sandstone cliffs, and headlights streak down lonely highways that seem to go nowhere. You start to realize this isn't a forgotten corner of the Southwest. It's a pressure cooker. Picture it. A neon diner buzzing under the night sky, a tumbleweed rolling past an abandoned pawn shop, and the hum of a passing freight train blending with a police scanner. It's cinematic, sure, but not in a comforting way. It's the kind of small town where you wave to your neighbor, mostly to make sure they see you're still alive. Gallup's got beauty, red rock mesas, wide-open roads, the kind of sunsets that feel unfairly gorgeous. But behind that glow is grit. This is the Wild West, all right. Only now the outlaws have traded horses for stolen Chevys, and the sheriff's department is running on fumes. Welcome to Gallup. where the danger feels vast but it's standing right next to you. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson carries history, heritage, and a violent crime rate that makes you question how safe your next trip there really is. Jackson is the kind of place that looks calm from a distance. Magnolia trees swaying, gospel music drifting through the air, and barbecue smoke curling up from the back of a corner lot. But behind that southern charm is a city at war with itself. The capital of Mississippi has deep roots in culture and civil rights, but lately it's become better known for crumbling infrastructure, record-setting murder rates, and a police radio that never goes quiet. Walk through downtown and you can feel the tension. The potholes are deep enough to swallow a small car. Streetlights flicker like they're giving up, and every corner seems to carry the memory of something that went wrong. Residents joke that Jackson's unofficial motto is, "Boil your water and mind your business." Except it's not really a joke. Between rolling water outages and violent crime, living here takes the kind of resilience most people only develop through disaster movies. What's strange about Jackson is that it refuses to give up. There's pride everywhere, from blues musicians busking on Capitol Street to the family-owned restaurants that keep serving catfish no matter what happens outside their doors. It's a city that loves hard and fights harder. But that fight shows in every crack, every boarded-up building, every for sale sign that's been hanging so long, it's turned beige. At night, the city hums with heat and unease. Cicadas buzz, tires screech, and somewhere across town another transformer blows out. You can almost feel the city holding its breath. They're waiting for things to change, praying they will. Jackson's beautiful, broken, and burning all at once. It's the kind of place that dares you to visit, and double dares you to stay. Monroe, Louisiana. In Monroe, Louisiana, the blues echo in the live music halls, and the same beat seems to pulse through the crime stats. At first glance, Monroe looks like every southern postcard you've ever seen. Moss-draped trees, porch swings, and a sky that turns gold before it rains. But spend more than an afternoon here, and you start to feel the friction. The same rhythm that makes the music soulful gives the city a restless pulse. Locals call it Monroe magic, though the spell wears off fast when you check the headlines. The violent crime rate here regularly outranks cities 10 times its size, and for years it's quietly hovered near the top of national danger lists. This isn't the New Orleans party vibe. Monroe's danger is quieter, the kind that creeps into the spaces between small talk. Drive through downtown and you'll see murals celebrating its rich black history, but right beside them, boarded-up windows and empty storefronts. There's beauty here, no doubt. Bayous winding behind neighborhoods, the smell of fried catfish and gumbo in the air. But it's hard to ignore the tension that lives right alongside it. The poverty rate sits high, job growth low, and resources stretched thin. Police scanners hum like background noise, and locals know which corners to avoid after dark without ever needing to say it out loud. It's a city that wants to dance, but the floorboards keep cracking underfoot. Still, Monroe has this strange resilience. People here laugh loud, cook big, and love even bigger. They'll tell you stories about their grandparents' houses, about nights when the whole block came out to play music just because they could. It's what keeps the city alive. Stubborn hope. But under that warmth, the blues still play on. In Monroe, even the music has learned how to duck when the sirens start. Camden, New Jersey. Camden steps into view with faded factories and gritty streets, reminding us that danger often doesn't make national headlines. You can see the skyline of Philadelphia right across the river, gleaming towers, shining bridges, and then you look at Camden, and it feels like you crossed more than a bridge. You crossed into another world. Once a proud industrial city, Camden built ships, cars, and dreams. Today, it feels like the aftermath of a dream gone wrong. The factories are silent, the jobs long gone, and what's left behind is a mix of resilience, decay, and the kind of danger that rarely makes national news because people stopped paying attention decades ago. Walk a few blocks, and you'll see the contradictions stacked like row houses. A brand new waterfront park right next to an abandoned warehouse. A mural of hope fading into graffiti that says, "Don't walk alone." There's life here. Street vendors, kids playing basketball, families barbecuing in empty lots, but also a constant undercurrent of survival. Crime isn't a statistic in Camden, it's a rhythm. Assaults, break-ins, car thefts, they happen so often that people have adapted. You don't panic, you prepare. But here's the twist. Camden's story isn't just crime, it's also redemption, or at least an attempt at it. The city disbanded its entire police department a decade ago and rebuilt it from scratch. For a while, the numbers improved, but the scars don't fade easily. Poverty and addiction still drag heavy on the community. You can feel it in the air, that mix of exhaustion and defiance. Stand by the waterfront at night and you'll hear two sounds: the hum of traffic from Philly and the soft rush of the Delaware River. Camden's dangerous, yes, but it's also defiant, a city that refuses to disappear, even when everyone else already wrote its obituary. Bessemer, Alabama. Bessemer might offer Southern hospitality during the day, but by night it ranks among America's hard-luck crime capitals. Just outside Birmingham, Bessemer looks like your typical small Southern town. Barbecue smoke in the air, porch fans spinning, and that lazy, muggy kind of heat that makes everything move a little slower. But when the sun sets, that calm shifts. The same streets lined with churches and dollar stores turn into something else entirely. Sirens echo off brick walls and porch lights stay on, more for safety than style. This isn't the kind of danger that makes national news. It's the kind that happens every single night. For years, Bessemer has quietly ranked near the top of America's most violent small cities. Assaults, armed robberies, and shootings, all at rates that seem almost unreal for a place this size. Locals say you learn to tell the difference between fireworks and gunfire by sound alone. And with a poverty rate pushing past a quarter of the population, desperation has become part of the ecosystem. It's a town where opportunity feels like a rumor, and survival is just another shift you have to clock into. Still, Bessemer holds that stubborn Southern pride. The barbecue's unbeatable, the neighbors will still wave, and people here love their city. Even if it doesn't always love them back. There's humor in the hardship, too. Someone once said, "If you hear something pop, finish your ribs before you duck." It's that kind of place. Half fear, half faith. At night, the air hums with cicadas and the low buzz of streetlights, fighting to stay lit. You can almost feel the tension in the humidity, heavy, invisible, constant. Bessemer might not show up on glossy travel brochures, but it's as real as it gets. Gritty, weary, alive, and still standing, one police siren at a time. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Pine Bluff doesn't try to hide its problems, but it kind of wears them on its sleeve, and the numbers scream for attention. Drive through Pine Bluff, and you'll swear it used to be a different town. Old theaters, grand signs, and storefronts that hint at better decades. It's the kind of place where history lingers like the smell of rain on hot pavement. But beneath that quiet southern charm, something's off. The streets are too empty, the windows too boarded, and the statistics too brutal to ignore. Pine Bluff has one of the highest violent crime rates in the entire country. And that's not a one-year fluke. It's a reputation that's been hanging around for decades like a storm cloud that never moves on. The danger here isn't theatrical, it's everyday. Robberies, assaults, and homicides are routine enough to blend into conversation. Locals talk about them the way most towns talk about the weather. Hot, humid, and another shooting on 3rd Street. For a city of barely 40,000 people, it punches far above its weight in crime charts. You can buy a house here for the price of a used car and still spend more on locks than furniture. The reasons run deep: fading industry, scarce jobs, and poverty levels that squeeze every bit of optimism out of daily life. It's not that Pine Bluff doesn't care, and it's that it's running out of ways to fight back. There are good people here, hardworking families who've stayed out of pride or necessity, but they're living in a place that can't seem to outrun its own bad luck. Picture this: the smell of barbecue drifting down a cracked main street, gospel music floating from a church window, and somewhere not far away, the distant thud of another police cruiser's door slamming shut. Pine Bluff isn't pretending to be safe. It's surviving out loud. Anniston, Alabama. In Anniston, Alabama, you can feel the small-town charm. And then the under-the-radar crime rate reminds you this isn't a quiet postcard. Tucked between the Appalachian foothills, Anniston looks like it should be the kind of southern town that belongs on a travel brochure. Red brick buildings, old rail lines, and tree-covered hills that catch the light just right at sunset. It's scenic, peaceful, at first. But don't let the calm fool you. Anniston's charm comes with an asterisk. This quiet little city consistently ranks among the most violent in Alabama and, depending on the year, in the entire country. For a place of just over 20,000 people, Anniston's crime numbers look like they were borrowed from somewhere much larger. Violent assaults and robberies happen here at several times the national average. It's one of those towns where everyone seems to know someone who's had their car broken into. Or worse. You'll find front porches lined with rocking chairs and no trespassing signs nailed right beside them. It's Southern hospitality, with a home security system. The odd part is it doesn't look dangerous. On a sunny afternoon, kids play basketball on cracked courts, retirees sip sweet tea, and the whole place hums with small-town rhythm. But after dark, that rhythm shifts. The traffic dies down, the streets get too quiet, and you start to notice just how many windows are barred. Poverty plays its part. The local economy never quite recovered from the loss of manufacturing, and opportunities are thin. Still, Anniston holds on. The people here laugh easily, gossip freely, and cling to community like it's armor. They've learned how to live with risk, but not ignore it. Anniston may look like a postcard from the past, but the fine print says, "Handle with caution." East St. Louis, Illinois. In East St. Louis, the river lights blur into police lights, and one bad night can feel like a season. You can stand on the Mississippi River's edge and see St. Louis, Missouri shining right across the water. Stadium lights, skyscrapers, a whole skyline that screams opportunity. But on this side of the bridge, it's a different story. East St. Louis isn't a city so much as a cautionary tale carved into the Midwest. Once booming with industry, this small Illinois city now carries one of the highest homicide rates in the nation. It's the kind of place where every street has two stories, the one people remember and the one the news won't stop reporting. By day, you'll see glimpses of what it used to be, like churches, murals, and families who've refused to leave despite the odds. By night, the glow shifts red and blue. Crime here isn't random, it's routine. The population has fallen to a fraction of its mid-century peak, and the vacuum left behind filled itself with poverty, desperation, and decay. Abandoned houses sit like open invitations. Streetlights don't always work, and when they do, they illuminate more history than hope. Locals will tell you straight, East St. Louis raised them tough. You learn which blocks to avoid, which corners stay quiet, and how to spot trouble long before it reaches you. For many, survival here is an inherited skill, yet beneath the grit, there's still heart. Community gardens growing in empty lots, pastors walking the streets, neighbors who'll watch your kids like they're their own. But that doesn't erase the reality. When the sun dips below the river and the hum of the highway fades, East St. Louis becomes something else. Eerie, hollow, watchful. The city that once built America's bridges now stands as one, between what was and what's left. And crossing it takes more than courage. It takes luck. Gary, Indiana. Once upon a time, Gary was a powerhouse. It forged America's steel, raised middle-class families, and even gave the world the Jackson 5. The air smelled like industry and ambition. Today, it smells like dust and rust. The factories are shells, the neighborhoods are half empty, and the silence between train horns is filled with the kind of tension that makes you check your rear view twice. Gary isn't just struggling, it's surviving in slow motion. The population has collapsed from nearly 200,000 to under 70,000, leaving behind more houses than people to live in them. Entire blocks sit abandoned, windows shattered, trees growing through porches. And with that emptiness came something worse. Crime. Gary's violent crime rate per capita ranks among the highest in America. Assaults, robberies, homicides, you name it. It's not chaos in the cinematic sense, it's the quieter, more unsettling kind, where everyone knows how fragile safety really is. Locals don't sugarcoat it. They'll tell you Gary can be home if you've got the grit. There's a deep pride here, the kind that refuses to die. Neighbors look out for each other, churches still ring their bells, and community programs fight like hell to hold the line. But the city feels like it's always 2 bad days away from another headline. Drive through downtown and you'll see what resilience looks like under pressure. Murals of hope painted over boarded doors, grass reclaiming concrete, and a skyline that still glows orange at sunset. It's hauntingly beautiful and heartbreakingly tired. Gary is the ghost of America's industrial dream. Still standing, still fighting, still loud in its own way. The mills may have gone quiet, but the streets never did. And in Gary, that rhythm never stops.